Hello and welcome to yet another Crystal Ball. My guest today is Ramesh Damani. Hi Ramesh, good to speak to you after a long time. Before we talk about markets, are you bracing yourself for a Donald Trump victory?
God, it's the one thing I thought could never happen in America, you know. I was telling them before the primary season, my friends, that there's a zero chance that Donald Trump would become the Republican nominee. And I was completely wrong about that. I mean, everything I know about US politics told me that there's no way Donald Trump would win, but clearly I'm out of touch now.
It's not about US politics. Maybe all that one knew about human beings needs to be re-evaluated in the context of what might happen.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, he speaks against POWs in America. That's like a death sentence. I mean, you just don't talk about, you know, American POWs badly. And he said McCain was captured, so he's not a great guy. I mean, you just don't do that in America, you know. The society is so stratified on these things. And then you talk about, I don't know, it's actually been I mean, I was just amazed as you went through the primary season, you're winning after winning after winning. I mean, I'm actually stunned, to be honest with you.
So, how should one think about it? I mean, it's something which the market has not talked about too much, but do you think it should start getting vexed about it? I mean, is it a big event looming over the next few months?
It is a big event because, of course, Donald Trump has said publicly that he will bring down NAFTA, he will bring a trade wall. I mean, if you remember in the 1930s, America went into a Great Depression because all the countries built tariff walls against each other. You know, in a world which is used to globalization, free trade, you know, movements across the border, if you have a U.S. president saying no to these things, and the U.S. is still the single most influential economic policy, that would, you know, create a lot of disturbance in the global economic order.
So that's the medium term. In the near term, how do you see the events which are stacked up in the global arena over the next couple of months? Your Fed meetings, your Brexit, your Fed meeting again. Is the picture cloudy over the next couple of months globally?
It has always been, Udayan. Of course, you know, Brexit is coming right up. The Fed rate increases are coming right up. And those are two very powerful global events that investors will vote on. They have a huge impact financially. Let's take the first question. Will the Fed raise rates? I think they're now signaling that they will actually raise rates by another quarter basis point. Maybe in July, not in June, but perhaps in July after Brexit is known. So, you know, the last time the Fed did that, we had very unpleasant consequences across the world. Is the world ready now for higher interest rates? You know, on balance, I think not. So if they do it, there will be definitely turmoil in the markets. Markets are fairly resilient. They can absorb terrorist attacks. They can absorb bad economic data. But somehow high interest rates, you know, is not something the markets have learned to deal with yet. So that will be a problem. Brexit poses another serious problem, particularly to European markets. I think if Britain leaves the euro, it will be leaving away a policy that has been crafted on both sides of the continent over the last 30, 40 years. And I think it would be on the net harmful if Britain decided to leave the European community. So, you know, those are significant events, but they're not going to derail the market as such. You know, Udayan, the one statistic that I always focus on, that even the 10th stock on the Dow is yielding 3.1%. I mean, in a world that's going towards headlong into negative interest rates, if you have an equity yielding 3.1%, a safe dividend yield, that's a floor in the market. That's what happened in January and February when the market sold off. I think the yield bought investors back. In a world hungry for yields, hungry for, you know, you have $10 trillion worth of negative bonds issued by the European community. I think equities that yield 3% are not going to go down in a hurry.
Yet, having said all of that, are you expecting a summer of volatility and turbulence, which could provide entry opportunities once again for people who could not participate in February?
Yeah, of course there will be. I have no doubt about that. In India, of course, the main leading factor would be the monsoon now. I think a good monsoon is now rapidly being priced into the market equation. A bad monsoon isn't. It's not only is it a capital markets tragedy, it's a human tragedy that's playing across in slow motion in India as you see the parched lands and people thirsting for water in India in particular. But having said that, I think I myself was a skeptic when the Modi government took into part 2 years ago. But I've had reason to revisit, my hypothesis and my understanding. And to be honest with you and to be candid with you, I'm, particularly impressed by the way this government has gone about its business.
So, I know, talking about index is not your favorite pastime, but do you think this global volatility and the events that we're speaking about in June can still lead to a situation where the Nifty holds a floor around 7,500, which a lot of people are talking about? Or is there more downside to this market, you reckon?
No, I think it should hold a floor. I think what happened in January, February, I think investors looked at it the wrong way. I think first the one primary conclusion that they're coming to, Udayan, is they're saying that, 2 years into the Modi government, 2-year anniversary, the Sensex is up 8%, dollar terms is pretty much flat or negative, so there's nothing going on. And I think that's a wrong way to look at it. The first thing is, of course, the bull market, the Modi bull market, as I call it, began in August 2013. And if you look from those lows, I think the market is just fine over the last 3 years. Secondly, making money has, never been, particularly easy in the stock market. So the idea that you could come in and bet on an event and after the event has happened and make money was never going to be, particularly easy. But what I would like to suggest to you, Udayan, is that we are laying the foundation for a much stronger, a much more vigorous bull market. And I give you the reasons why I feel, inherently bullish. I think the first, I think Shakespeare in his play Measure for Measure put it, very well. He said, bubble and boil, I see corruption overrunning the stew. And I think since the British Raj, corruption has been such a huge problem in India that it has eaten into the innards of institutions, innards of democracy. And actually and surprisingly, for the first time in my adult life, I think we're beginning to take on corruption and win in that. I think we look at the strategic measures that the Modi government has taken, coal, spectrum auction, Aadhaar, Jan Dhan, very small thing where investors can decide and choose whether they're doing long-term capital investing or trading. All these are empowering regulations, the bankruptcy and insolvency bill. So any government in India that can actually tackle on corruption head-on and win, I think to me gets a lot of my loyalty, because I think it has been so endemic to Indian society. It has actually sucked away our strength. So the government is making the platform. If you see whether the direct DTAA treaty that they've done, or whether you see the income tax changes that we made, or the signing of regulations, or the bankruptcy bills, all these are providing a level playing field, more transparency, less corruption. Corruption has been endemic in India from the top, and I don't think it's going to go down to the low levels and disappear to the traffic cop or the service attendant in the next 2-3 years. But I think a fight has begun to tackle corruption head-on. The second thing which I feel that Modi government has thought it through, and we are now seeing the effects, is what he calls the Made in India theme, which was announced with much ballyhoo in a Bombay seminar. But now you look at it, even today as I speak to you, then it's hard to believe, but India is in a space club that has atomic power, that has sent an orbit to moon called Chandrayaan, and today has launched the reusable launch vehicle. In fact, it went out to space successfully today. Now, a country that can launch the Chandrayaan can surely go to Cupertino and tell Tim Cook that, hey, let us build the Apple iPhone. I think that can happen, and that will send a powerful signal. If India is good enough for Apple to manufacture, a lot of other FDI will come into India. And you've also attacked crony capitalism with it. You're giving out, policies and, auctions on merit base. So I think they are laying the groundwork for a much stronger and much vigorous bull market to come. So don't be deceived by the 2-year flat performance of the index. I think we look 3 years out. I think the prospects are much better.
At this point, a quick break. We're back with Ramesh Damani on Crystal Ball in just a minute.